Mark, can you hear me?
Yes, Doc, all yours, Dr. Sharma.
I don't think I can share. Every time I share, the audio gets disabled. So I send the slides to you. Are you able to post it? We can run this through in about 10 minutes.
Yeah,
It's
you go ahead, Doc. You go ahead.
well, I would like the slides to be in the backdrop. But if I put on the slides, it seems it's cutting my volume off. So can you get the slides up from your side? Or
Uh,
send it to your Gmail. I'll start in any case because we have a time constraint. So I was talking that while I prepared this talk about what we discussed, overcoming negativity, I really felt a little bit of despair because it's really pointed to a significant amount of negativity around the world, and it's truly sad that this is happening. That we're seeing a pandemic of emotional disorders. We know that depressions and anxiety is on the rise. WHO has called it a pandemic. And we are also seeing significant problems in our teens, in suicides and violence. And if we had the slides, I would show some pictures of the school shootings that are happening, that is rising. The graph is showing a consistent rise in shootings. Are you able to see the slides?
you continue, Doc. I'm trying to pull it up. Yeah.
Yeah, you pull it up because the pictures are in the background, which are helpful to the presentation. Great, I got you. So yeah, let's move forward from that. Yeah, we talked about the pandemic of emotional disorders. Here's a slide on school shootings, and you can see from the 60s up to 2025, there are significant rise up to over 350 shootings in the US in 2025. And this slide is showing us Minneapolis and the sad story of Minneapolis last year with the school shooting, and this year with public uh, violence and executions on the street in front of everybody. So what happens here, especially with respect to mental health disorders, slow down now, Mark. We'll finish in about 10 minutes. What happens with the mental health problem? And I'm sure Professor Albert, who is here from the UK, would agree that the stigma in mental health is very high, and it's partly because of the behaviors that persons demonstrate when they're ill. They're bipolar disorders, conduct disorders, person go out of control under the influence of drugs. But what happens? That creates a negativity. People don't want to seek mental health treatment because they don't want to be aligned to that kind of situation. So they turn to drug abuse and crack and so on. It compounds the problem. Let's go to the next one. So, apart from the emotional dysfunction that's happening worldwide, which we now see as a pandemic of anxiety, depression, suicide, violence, we do have severe suffering that's crossing all countries. And it's hard to describe it by words. So maybe the picture will talk in the cries of the mothers, the wailing, maybe the best way to describe this suffering that we see worldwide. Yeah, you keep going. The lines of mothers in Sudan, and now the BBC just put out a report that the famine is on in Sudan, so nothing to feel happy about. And here we have two slides, one from 1940, and it shows persons hiding in the underground in the 1940 World War II scenario. And then we have in Kiev in 2026 the same repetition of persons, young people having to hide in the subways, becoming icicles in sub-zero temperatures, having no power, no electricity because of bombings. And persons are now being called garbage. Hold a second there, Mark. So inhumane treatment is all over. Those persons who are running from disasters in their own countries and famine, they're running for refuge. They're snatched off the streets. They got to live in camps, put in camps to return to the hell they escaped from. So these things are happening, and there's a point I'm making here that it's mostly because people are desensitized to suffering. Thankfully, there are people standing up. Sent back to this kind of country like Haiti, where famine exists, to join the bread line. It's not the solution. In terms of the evidence that shows us that there's enormous suffering, let's look at some of the data. We see maternal deaths up to 92% in low-income countries, with sub-Saharan Africa accounting for most, and child mortality 13 times more likely to occur before age 5 in those low-income countries. Let's keep going. With life expectancy for adults 30 years less than what is expected in a high-income country. So clearly, you could see a link between economic hardship and suffering, the negativity in the world, limited opportunities leading to young people becoming depressed, despair, turning to drugs. And what happens? What do? We blame the addiction as the problem. We blame the illicit drugs. We blame the immigrants. But the problem is there. It's the elephant in the room, which we don't want to see. And it is the structural failures of these systems that are meant to protect us, the leadership, the governance. It's absent everywhere, in the home with abusive and absent parents, and in the school with bullying, in the workplace people treated like slaves, and in this society that we live now, this modern society with the media and AI, which is now functioning well today for me. And in the worst case scenarios, those protective systems that are correctional protective systems are failing. And you could see that in this new documentary, The Alabama Solution. So for me, I chose a word that I think describes what is happening in terms of our governance, and I call it perversion, from the Latin word periter. So this was originally a word coined to describe the distortion of church doctrine in the 15th century, but now, keep rolling, it's pretty applicable to behaviors in our people, sexual perversions, as you see publicly on this the media now. And now it's also, I think, a good description for governance, because leaders are behaving like psychopaths. We call them the dark triad, these people who are supported by sycophants, supported in the greed and grab for power, the desire to execute anybody who is opposing them. But just a quick look at the countries to make a point that I want to say that all these low-income countries you see here, from Afghanistan, Haiti, North Korea, all these countries, the indicators for suffering are very high: food insecurity, conflict, displacement, migration, and so on. So talking about hope, we want to focus on hope. Is there hope? Yes. We do have countries which report happiness in their people, with the top one being Finland. It's been a recurrent thing that's happened. So the Scandinavian countries are very positive. We see that in Norway, Netherlands, Switzerland, Australia is in the list. And the characteristic of these countries is that they all have opportunities, respect for the people, respect for governance, democracy, not autocracy, and they have accountability. So I'm going to close with this point here, that if we allow governance, injustice, and abuse to continue, with the police supporting abuse, then we're going to see a world that's going to be destroyed by greed. We're seeing it with the climate change, and it's only one way that we can stop it: by unity. And people are united. We see the results that happened recently in Bangladesh and Nepal, but people have to sacrifice their lives to make that change. But we can make that change with the efforts we do. And I want to thank Rotary for your efforts in the public domain and caring for the poor in our communities, and wish all of us the best. I want to wish all those who are joining from Grenada a happy Independence Day, and thank you for being here. It's a short talk. Unfortunately, technology is not working, and it's a worry that maybe another talk we should talk about the advent of AI and the destruction that it's bringing. Whilst it was meant and it's supposed to be coined as a tool for the good, it's not actually doing that. So things that we need to watch for as we are on the verge of destruction of our world, mankind. Thank you very much, and I'm glad we got through this, Mark.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma.